Good evening and welcome to tonight's Candidate Forum hosted by the 13th Congressional Federation of Democratic Women. We extend our deepest thanks to our hosts, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church and Pastor Jamal Bryant for opening their doors for this important evening of civic engagement and to each of you joining tonight. Our purpose is simple, to give residents the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates who want to represent you and to allow those candidates to speak about the priorities that matter most to the communities. Each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves and up to 2 minutes to answer questions. Audience members will have 30 seconds to ask concise questions directly to one or the whole panel. Time limit will be respected to ensure fairness and balance. Now, before we begin, this is a nonpartisan forum, which means that we're not endorsing, we're not doing any of those various things. Anyone is allowed to attend. We also like to recognize that there's any other party members in the group because we are nonpartisan. Is there any party members in the audience? We also want to recognize that our DPG chair is currently not here at the moment, but he sent his condolences. Not condolences, I'm sorry. He sent his acknowledgments, but he also has Miss Christine Watson. Is she's in the room, Christine Watson? Yes. Christine Watson, Director of Party Affairs, as we know, who's currently in election season, and Christine has some general information about our PSC elections. So please see Christine after the event. And I want to share how tonight's forum is going to go. All the candidates have been divided to 2 panels organized by their demographic and geographic areas with the 13th Congressional District. This approach allows us to give each group the time and the focus they deserve, ensuring that every candidate has a fair opportunity to share and that we are allowing them the time to voice their opinions on this stage. As we begin, we're going to start with panel number 1, starting with Representative Robert Flournoy, representing House District 74, Clayton County. Let's give him a hand. Representative Eric Bell, representing House District 75, Clayton County. Commissioner Larry Johnson, candidate for Senate District 10, Dekalb and Henry County. Representative Angela Moore, House District 91, Dekalb County. Ms. Gabrielle Rogers, representing candidate for Senate District 10, Dekalb and Henry County. And Mr. Sylvester Smith, candidate for Senate District 10, Dekalb County. Let's give all these candidates and incumbents a hand as they are here tonight before you, being able to answer those questions. And as we start, we also had questions from our senior caucus. The Democratic Women has a senior caucus, and they have expressed some concerns and would love to hear from each of the candidates and the incumbents in regards to their concerns for affordable housing for our seniors. As we start with Representative Robert Flournoy, we're going to talk about our senior affordable housing. Will you introduce our support legislation to create grants for affordable housing for seniors aged 55 and older, particularly those with monthly incomes between $700 and $3,300? Again, I'll read that question. Will you introduce our support legislation to create grants for affordable housing for seniors aged 55 and older, particularly those with monthly incomes between $700 and $3,300 a month?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be here. Again, my name is State Representative Robert Flournoy. I represent the 74th District, which includes parts of Henry and Clayton County, Lovejoy, Hampton, and Jonesboro. And so, again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here. So to answer that question, not only do I support it, but I think that we have to be creative about how we support our seniors, especially in this economical climate. We cannot rely on the federal government. So we have to make sure that we use creative ways to ensure that our seniors have not only affordable housing, but also if there's other things that we can do, whether it's tax incentives, tax credits, and things like that, because we have to make sure that we have all hands on deck when we talk about, and I'm sure at some point in time you might talk about healthcare, Medicare, and things like that. If healthcare costs are going to increase within the next few months because of the lack of support that our Republican colleagues have given in this state, then our seniors need all the support that they can get to make sure that they offset any of those subsidies, any of those finances that they might have to incur, because not only are you talking about housing, then you're talking about health care, but then also you're talking about food and things like that. So not only am I in favor of it, but I believe that we need to go beyond that to assist our seniors.
Thank you so much. And we went a little bit too fast where each candidate was supposed to introduce themselves for 1 minute. So Representative Flournoy, we'll take this opportunity to allow you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, thank you so much. Like I said, State Representative Robert Flournoy, I represent part of Henry and Clayton County, Lovejoy, Hampton, and Jonesboro. My committees that I'm on in the legislature, energy, utilities, telecommunications, state property, and also community affairs and planning. And so what that means, we know that we are having a PSC race, and oftentimes people think that the legislature determines rates and things like that. No, that's the PSC. But what the Energy, Utilities, Telecommunication Committee does, it does operate as a vehicle to make sure that we have those necessary things in place for whether it's broadband, things like that. There's legislation that we can introduce, that we can pass to make sure that our things are better for each and every citizen. But again, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you, not only for doing this, but we are in a critical election cycle. And so having forums like this, having the opportunity for you all to ask questions and also to hear from us, not only those of us that are elected, but those that are interested in running as well, to make sure that we make the best choices possible. So again, thank you.
Thank you so much. And just wanted to let you guys know as well, I know you probably don't see it, there's a big, huge clock in front of you so to let you know what your time is as well. But no, we don't know we didn't inform you of that. Next, we'll go to Representative Eric Bell. If you take this 1 minute to introduce yourself as well before we go into that question.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Bell, and I have the honor of serving as the district representative for 75 in the House of Representatives. I represent Jonesboro, Morrow, and Riverdale. I've been serving for 2 years since the special election in 2023. I sit on Veterans Affairs, Aging and Human Relations, as well as, Veterans Affairs, Aging and Human Relations, and Small Business. I'm really proud to sit on all those committees, to doing work for all those specific communities, whether it's for protecting our veterans that served us overseas or right here, the very democracy that's under attack. So all those now we can support our veterans and we can fight back, as well as working on the aging and human relations. Specific things that I've worked on that committee is making sure that we have judicial review for our senior citizens and those who have diminished capabilities. But that's me in a nutshell. I'm born and raised in Georgia, had the opportunity to go to Morehouse College, and I have a master's from Georgia State in international business, and I hope to use all that to serve the people of this great state. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that question, Representative Bell, will you introduce our support legislation to create grants for affordable housing for seniors aged 55 and older, particularly those with monthly incomes between $700 and $3,300 a month?
Of course. As Representative Fedora said, not only do we need to introduce legislation like that, but go past that. Currently, we're in a housing crisis, and some of those who are most expendable to that crisis are our senior citizens. As you stated, those who are on a fixed income, as rents continue to rise, as taxes continue to rise, as the price of food continue to rise, that exacerbate those incomes. And anything that we can do to help those individuals, those who have worked for years, those who are now our aunties and our grandfathers, who have not only served our families, but worked in different capacities, whether they were teachers, whether they were farmers, whether they were your doctors, or even the simple lunch ladies that made sure that each kid in Georgia had a fair and nutritious meal each day. We need to protect them now and later. As I stated earlier, I always submitted legislation to protect senior housing. So again, I will continue to do so in the same manner.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Larry Johnson, candidate for Senate District 10, Dekalb in Henry County. Can you take this opportunity to introduce yourself within 1 minute?
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Glad to be here. I'm Larry Johnson. Some of you may know and not know, but I was a county commissioner for 22 years, the longest serving county commissioner in DeKalb County's history. I represented South DeKalb, had 150,000 residents as part of just that big family I used to call us in District 3. Being on committees, from serving on just working on our budget, had a chance to pass for 22 years, 22 budgets at $2 billion or more. Had an opportunity to do zonings. If you can look around the area from Columbia Drive to Candler Road to Wesley Chapel, and in our South DeKalb area, you see the economic development that we've had a chance to grow. Had opportunity for sidewalks. I was a pedestrian safety advocate before it was popular, and you see a lot of sidewalks that wasn't in our communities. Now we have sidewalks in our areas, and now there's things that people talk about. Had a chance to go down to the Gold Dome when I wasn't elected to pass the first pedestrian safety law in the state of Georgia. And so what I would do as your state senator and going to our housing, the 40 housing, talking about the senior housing, I would look at just solutions. One would be creating a land trust, working with public-private partnerships to make sure, like one of our state representatives said, we just can't rely totally on government, but work on public-private partnerships to make sure that we have monies coming in for people who paved the way for us. Also give counties the opportunities and cities to expand land bank opportunities. I was part of the ones who helped revive the land bank opportunities in DeKalb County. And what I did was I said, no, we're not just going to put our land on the county steps so people can just buy it. We're going to save this affordable land for people we can use in our own community. So I put affordable land back under the Land Bank Authority, and as your state senator, I will use that authority to make sure that cities and counties who want to start land banks make it easier for you to do those type of things. Also, I authored the Workforce Housing Ordinance, and that's a public-private partnership that I worked on that will help to bring more affordable housing for our seniors in our communities, because if you look around Henry and DeKalb, you have a waiting list for seniors in our community for 55 and up. And we have to make sure that we have a place for them because they paved the way for us. And it's all about connecting, making sure that folks have a place at the table, and we got to move forward. And I think our seniors deserve to have opportunities, and they can't afford to just sit on a waiting list and not have a place to live.
Thank you so much. As we move on to Representative Angela Moore, representing House District 91, if you can also introduce yourself within 1 minute, and if you need me to reread the question, you can go directly into the question as well.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm State Representative Angela Moore, House District 91, which incorporates South Rockdale and South DeKalb. We're sitting in 91 as we speak. If there's anyone from here, and I'm your representative, thank you so much. Anyone else, I'm still advocating for you. I serve on the Fine Arts and Entertainment, Higher Education, and with my two brethren, I think one or two, both of you all, we are on telecommunication, energy, and utilities. And I'm very proud of that I've been appointed to that by our Speaker of the House. Going into the question, I'm not quite sure that we can actually form legislation and Lord knows if we could, I would, because I fit in that category. And I, just like the people that I serve, need the break too. I pay taxes just like you all do. I pay house note, utilities, the insurance. And if I can get a break, which is why I'm here, if I can get a break, I'm going to make sure you get a break. If you get a break, I want to be included in that as well, because we all are in this together. So I'm not quite sure that we can actually write the legislation for it. I do believe that is crossing over into the county. I will check on that, though. However, I would support it 100%. We did a few things with the taxes to be able to help our seniors in Rockdale and in Henry County. We can write those types of legislation, but it is important that we work with our county officials. They ask for the money, we go out there, make sure it gets in our budget. We know what it's for. If it's gonna help my community, and I'm sure lots of people in my community have benefited from some of the things that we have pushed, whether it is on the county side and we helped, whether we wrote the resolution or whether we helped with the money in the budget, I'm all for it. Certainly, certainly, certainly.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Ms. Gabrielle Rogers, candidate for Senate District 10, DeKalb and Henry County. And as well as you introduce yourself for 1 minute. If you like me to read the question, I can, or you can go straight into the question.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. I am Gabrielle Rogers, running to serve as your next state senator for District 10, which covers DeKalb and Henry County. Like many of you, I am feeling the rising costs of our food and our groceries here in Senate District 10 in the state of Georgia. And District 10 deserves a leader that is bold and gives real results. And so this is actually a new district, which means we can elect a new leader with fresh ideas, fresh vision, and a fresh voice for our members to solve some of the same problems that our career politicians have been talking about for years. So it's very important for us to be able to not only work together, but understand that from leading national nonprofits, being able to serve and feed thousands of families with groceries and being able to serve as a community leader, I understand firsthand what it means for you to struggle. And so this race is really about affordability. Affordability to be able to afford, whether it's your first home, whether it's the paychecks are staying the same, or maybe non-existent. And so to answer your question, I, of course, would support it, but I also would go a step further to provide a housing trust fund. And 3 components, there would be 3 key components. The first component would be to provide moving costs for rental assistance for our constituents. And then the second component would be to provide property tax relief incentives, not only for our seniors, but also for our public safety, for our retired teachers, and also for our firefighters to be able to not be succumbed to gentrification. And the last key component of that housing would be to turn some of our dead strip malls into affordable housing so that we also can make sure that corporate developers not only have a local management when they are purchasing those properties, but also they have community incentives and community investment incentives as well in order for them to work in the district. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sylvester Smith, candidate for Senate District 10, DeKalb County.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Sylvester Smith. I am not a politician. I have never served as a politician, and I'm here to be a servant of the community, which I have served the community in various roles. I am a businessman. If you've had the opportunity to get you a smoothie from Smoothie King or get you a sub from Firehouse Subs, I've probably touched you in some way, form, or fashion. I'm here to serve the community. That's my reason for being here. And about myself, I've spent a little time at Morehouse in Georgia State like you, gentlemen, and I've enjoyed Georgia for the past 30 years. It's been my home, and my children are born and raised here. I love Georgia, and I'm not moving back to my hometown of Detroit. With that being said, I need to make sure that things happen here for the people that are here, where I am. And being a part of this community and being welcome in this community for so long has been great for me. It's been great for raising my children. I think a lot of times we are not aware that the roles that we are trying to achieve up here on this stage are the role of a servant and not necessarily to serve ourselves. We need to understand that our role is for the community. I'm not here for me. If I feel a certain way about a particular issue, I think that it's fair that that's how I feel, but I need to know how the constituents feel so that I may move in the way that the constituents wish to move, and that might not necessarily be how I think we may want to move, and I think that's one of the most important things.
I didn't want to stop you, Mr. Smith, but it's going into your question time, so if
Yes,
you want us to go ahead and ask
I'm
that
there.
question.
So the answer to the question is a little more simple. Yes, you're talking about my mother, and my mother lives here as well. You're talking about all the people who reared my children when I weren't around. You're talking about my aunties. You're talking about everybody in my life when you're talking about people who need affordable housing. I think the biggest thing that we need to do is look at some of the existing problems that we have, like HB 753, which I don't know exactly where that bill ended up, but that bill goes back into, I think, what Ms. Rogers was saying about urban blight and how those particular properties can be used going forward for the very problem that you stated earlier. But, you know, again, yes.
Thank you so much. As we move forward, my Madam Third Vice over here is going to keep me in order to make sure that the same person is not going first all the time. So please pay attention to the name that she actually called. But the next question is healthcare access. Access to affordable healthcare remains inconsistent across metro and suburban Georgia. What specific initiatives or bills would you support to expand healthcare access and affordability for working families?
And we'll start with Mr. Bell.
First, thank you for the question. That's an easy one. Expansion of Medicaid. Not only does expansion of Medicaid save lives, but it brings economic value into the state of Georgia by providing jobs for nurses, technicians, doctors. That looks like it's not only helping the health in our communities, but expanding the economic outreach of our communities, rebuilding our communities by doing one simple thing that our governor refuses to do, although the taxpayers in Georgia already pay into that, but by refusing federal funds, not only is he keeping black, brown, and every community in Georgia unhealthy, but he's also stopping the economic activity in our communities. Other initiatives to start off the healthcare crisis is one thing, tackle mental health. I may be a little young, but there was a time where there were state mental health institutions where individuals had those residential assisted living for those who had diminished mental capacities. That's something we need to bring back. Again, I don't want to keep talking about age, but homelessness has been exacerbated because we are now using our penitentiaries and our jails as our mental health, which is a healthcare issue, providers. And until we bring back those institutionalized state-run facilities where individuals can go and have assisted living care, which so many people need, we're going to continue to see that and continue to see the exacerbation on our hospitals, which are clogged, which our emergency rooms are clogged because, again, we're having mental health crises and people have nowhere to go. It's a multi-pronged issue, but it will begin with expanding Medicaid, pouring money into our mental health institutions facilities, and making sure those that are incarcerated have mental health evaluations, medications, and any other resource that we can provide them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, that's a great question. My master's is in public health, and I was able to use my public health background to integrate policy and make things happen. And as your next state senator, we know that the state of Georgia runs our public health and our mental health services. So what I would do is incentivize working with our counties and our cities to build more of those clinics in those areas of need and to make sure we have access to those type of services so everyone who needs services will get it. Also build in incentives because $22 billion comes from the federal government. And if you look at the bill that came down from the federal government, they now have decreasing the coverage for Medicaid. That means the state of Georgia has to pick up more of that slack in order to move forward, so it comes out of the general fund. So how do we make sure that we have the economic development and Medicaid assistance to move forward? And I will use Grady as an example. As a county commissioner, I was able to bring 2 clinics back to our area. There's now being built, one on Flat Hills Parkway, one on Candler Road. That's a full access clinic from dental to primary care to mental health services. I want to replicate that model for all of the counties and cities who would like it, but the state can be a partner in that whole process and that approach. And prevention has to be a key to making those things happen. We have an HIV/AIDS rate that's some of the highest in our region, but also look at substance abuse. We got to make sure we extend the amount of care that people who are seeking treatment, we extend the amount of days that they can get to have treatment, and making sure we can be a leader in just those type of Medicaid prevention to make sure as your state senator that we have those things available.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Moore.
I sure can. Access to affordable health care remains inconsistent across metro and suburban Georgia. What specific initiatives or bills would you support to expand healthcare access and affordability for working families?
So, as my young colleague, who's very, very seasoned, has explained that Georgia has not, our colleagues on the other side of the, of the aisle, have not accepted Medicaid. Our governor in particular. I would hope that the next administration may consider it. But right now, I do believe that some of our colleagues are open to it. There are several reasons behind that, but the initiative for me would be for mental health care and for the younger people. And I guess I shouldn't look at you because the question is to be able to talk to the audience. What we don't have in DeKalb County or Rockdale County are places for young people who are mentally fragile or on medication or on drugs to be able to go when they dial the 911 or the 811 or the 611 to be able to get mental health help. Without the expansion of Medicaid, they can't go anywhere with that. We don't have the facility. I'd like to advocate for us to have a facility on the east side of the A for our younger kids to be able to go to. When they call those numbers, when they OD, when they go into the prison system, that's where they stay, just like my colleague said. And they are utilizing that as a mental health crisis center. And it's so sad because we do have other places, and the closest place that has a bed is Cobb County. And when they are filled up, DeKalb, forget it, and Rockdale, even worse, because they're even further. So I would like to see this happen. I would also like to see us get the Medicaid into Georgia, the expansion, so that some of our older senior people, I'm going to be one of them, are able to go to a nursing home and it doesn't drain their life savings. Because that's what Medicaid will do. Medicaid expansion will pay for senior citizen homes.
Thank you.
Ms. Rogers.
So of course, within the Capitol, I will support the affordable health care within the Capitol. But I think what's most important is what will happen outside of that. And I've already been doing the work building coalitions with organizations. In particular, as the past president of the Junior League of DeKalb County, we actually led the efforts of providing $10,000 for mental health services for our school district, being able to impact about 6,500 students. While that's important because we have boots on the ground people, coalitions, organizations who don't have all that red tape. And being able to continue that partnership with them in addition to working with other women-led organizations on reproductive health, as well as our local clinics, investing in them as well. So definitely building those coalitions, continuing to build those coalitions, but also expanding what I've already done to increase those resources as well.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Smith.
Well, the expansion of Medicaid pretty much speaks for itself, and I don't need to rehash that. I think everyone's gone through that. I think the biggest thing I see as an opportunity is for us to lay out incentives. And Johnson, you spoke on this a little bit earlier, and I'll speak on it a different way from a business standpoint. Right now, we don't have a single healthcare. We don't have a single payer system. With that being out of play, you look at it as though you have franchises or smaller micro hospitals. So when you see like the Grady coming up on flat shows, when you see those urgent cares coming up, what you're really seeing are franchises of those larger Piedmont hospitals, Grady hospitals, and so on and so forth. What that does is that allows people to get the health care that they need locally and fast. That brings that cost down, but the problem is, of course, they don't have those facilities that can help people on a major scale. So you have that transfer point where you say, okay, we can only do so much, and then we need to trade you. Do we need to train you over to those larger hospitals where you can get more acute care? I think that is the best way to bring the cost down by making those micro units all over from rural Georgia all the way to District 10. I think that will help. I know that that will help us from a cost standpoint, and I think we have to attack the cost first, and then we can. It'll be a little bit easier to pull people from the other side of the aisle to work with us by attacking that cost first.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Flournoy.
Ditto. It's going to ditto everything everyone said. So everyone on the stage, of course, made great points, but I think it's important to make sure that we kind of paint the picture. So the federal government, when we talk about expanding health care, because of the big, bad, whatever you want to, what connotation you want to put on the bill, because of the between $2 and $3 billion that's now not coming into Georgia, what does that impact look like? So first and foremost, you have hospitals that are either have closed or in jeopardy of closing. So now you are creating those medical deserts. And, you know, oftentimes we talk about, you know, the metro Atlanta area, but it's impacting our state. And so there are some regions of our state where people have to drive an hour and a half just to get medical care. So you're talking about hospitals, and then because of the lack of Medicaid expansion, now you have doctors who don't want to serve and who don't want to work in Georgia. And so now not only are you creating a space where there isn't beds for people to go to, but there aren't people to even serve them. And so it's important and it's imperative for us when we talk about this conversation that yes, there needs to be expansion. I do agree as well. My wife is here. She's a special needs educator. That we have to also make sure that we are supporting our younger generation, our individual children in school with counseling, with mental health, whether it's groups like NAMI and things like that are doing excellent work. But we have to hold people in office accountable. There's over $16, $17 billion in reserve in this state that's not being utilized. Let's make sure that we vote so that we can hold those people accountable and put the right people in office.
Thank you so much for that first round of questions. Did I miss somebody? Yes. All right, we're going to get into this one. This one's one that's very, very talked about. You all just had a forum in Dekalb County with the CEO in regards to data centers. Energy and development. Georgia's attracting large data centers and industrial projects that consume massive energy. What safeguards should be in place to protect residents from rising utility costs and environmental impacts?
Mr. Johnson.
I think, first of all, data centers should be responsible for all of their utilities. It should not be put on the backs of county residents for water, extra power bills, and all those things. And the other part is, as a county commissioner, you have control over your zoning. So you control what you would like to see in your community. And I think that's the part where the residents come in. You get your voice need to be heard. You need to go to your local government to make sure that your voices are heard. And you let folks know, hey, these things will be an environmental wreck in certain areas, but you may be able to put them in industrial areas. But that's for each individual community to make that decision. As a state senator, my job is to make sure we understand at our level what we can do to help. But I think the local elected officials, they have the power in this. And I think we need to not try to take it away from them, because you keep the local people engaged. When you take power away from local people and bring it to the top, sometimes you get disconnected. And we talked about that, the $16 billion rainy day fund. I know if we had it at the county and the city level, you see people every day at the grocery stores, the gas stations, and so you have a chance to impact folks in a mighty, mighty big way, and we're about to hit it right now. SNAP benefits may not come forward starting November 1st. Guess what? At the local level, we had to make those things happen. As a state senator, I'm going to say, hey, we got $16 billion. I'll get with Representative Moore and the group up here. We need to be making sure that the state is going to fill that gap. Otherwise, guess what? They're going to be, families and children will go hungry. Think about it. We have folks going from paycheck to having no paycheck, y'all. What are we going to do? And that's what I would focus on as a state senator for District 10.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Moore.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is about the data center. Yes, Georgia's attracting large data centers and industrial projects that consume massive energy. What safeguards should be in place to protect residents from rising utility costs and environmental impacts?
So the very first thing we can do is vote. We do have a crucial election coming up on November 4th, I believe, 2nd or 4th, and early voting has started. We can go ahead and vote for a PFC that understands where we're at today, that understands the entire state of Georgia and this side of town. So Dekalb, Rockdale, Henry, Newton, Clayton, all of us have the same thing in mind. And the one thing that we've learned from several of these forums is that our community does not want that. And what we can do as legislators on the committees is to talk to our other colleagues to vote down some of these things, to write the legislation, to enforce the legislation that's already in process or on its way in the next legislative session, to stop these data centers from taking over in places where they're not needed, where they're not wanted. And so hopefully we'll be able to help that process through the legislation or the legislators this year, or the legislation that we will enact. So that's what we can do from the level where we are now. But we know that our communities and all the contiguous communities are not interested in having the data centers.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Rogers.
Yes, I would say for us to continue to do in the town halls and educating our community on the pros and the cons of the data center, but also because people may think it because they may bring jobs. And so, but with that, the alternative with that is providing workforce programs so that we can provide training for high-paying jobs, for tech jobs, or trade jobs, IT jobs, in addition to green space jobs, provide an alternative of the data centers as well. But in addition to making sure that our community use our voices and continue to have town halls, that is what I will continue to do, but do as a state senator, is not only allow the county to just be responsible for that, but as the state senator to provide that additional education as well.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Smith.
Data centers are inevitable. We're going to have data centers. Data centers are going to be here. Data centers are going to be located in Georgia. I think it's how we handle data centers coming to Georgia, and I think that's something that we should be doing in the state legislature. I understand zoning, but because of the resources that will be taken by a data center, it needs to be handled at the state level. I think those fall almost maybe second to utilities. Eventually, that's where they'll come in. Because of what they do. Everybody in this place right now has a smartphone that runs with a data center. Right now we have QTS on Marietta Street. I don't think that's a good place for a data center. I think for a data center, you need to make sure that a legislature, and I would be pushing this as a legislator, especially as a senator if you decided to choose me for that, I would be pushing that those places be specifically carved out inside of the state, where the state could almost be in charge of those particular data centers. It's very important that they are here. It's very important that we grab the revenue from them being here. A lot of people are talking about tech jobs. One of the biggest jobs you're gonna have from a data center is just HVAC. We're talking about, hey, we need to get some of our children out, and we need to get good careers for them. You can get 100 to 200 HVAC jobs in a data center. Because of what it is. You gotta keep it cool, just that part alone, let alone with the backups and the generators that are gonna be needed for something like that. So I think it's important that we take advantage of something that is inevitable. Because to me, a data center is like, are we gonna slow down the spread of electricity? We're not gonna slow down data centers, they're coming. And it's for us to handle it from that level where we can be effective.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Flournoy.
So two things. Being a member of the Energy Utilities Telecommunications Committee, I have had various conversations with whether it's Georgia Power or EMCs or MEAGs, because I have constituents that ask these questions. What's going on with data centers? And so it's a two-pronged approach. From the state level, there are already things in place, and this is important for each of you out here to be informed. There are already things in place to make sure that data centers take care of the cost associated with any infrastructure that is going to be required for them to operate. So that means if there's a substation, if there's any water regulation or water reservoirs that have to be created, they are responsible for the cost of those things being built up front. I just recently went on the tour of Plant Vogtle in Waynesboro, and one of the things that was mentioned to me, I hear you, one of the things that was mentioned was the fact that, for example, when a contract comes up for a data center, they have to estimate how much usage they expect, and when they do so, they have to pay that cost up front for a period of time in order to make sure that none of our electricity is not being stable, because the last thing I want is a blackout, or when I flip my switch in my house, that it doesn't come on. And so we have to make sure that that's in place. Second thing, and I think Commissioner Johnson mentioned, is the fact that we have to also make sure that our county level officials are educated, because there are different types of data centers. They aren't all the same size. Some of them are smaller, and so some of our commissioners just want to go for the gusto and want the biggest thing that's going to have the biggest impact on our tax digest, but it might not fit in our communities. So we have to make sure that they are informed, make sure that they know that we have to have those closed circuit water things that are happening, and not just get all the water that you can, but that should be recycled water as well. So make sure education is a part of it.
Thank you so much.
Gray water closed circuit system.
Mr. Bell.
This is a complex question. First thing we do, like Representative Moore said, was vote. Vote, vote, vote. Make sure those utility fees that will be occurring are occurring, and they're paid by those who are incurring those charges. So if shameless plug, make sure vote for Peter and Alicia for Public Service Commission. We need that done. Let's get out, make our voices heard. If you want change, it starts at the top, and those people will be at the top. Second, it does matter. Again, I guess it goes back to voting on your local level. Your commissioners will have the power to choose the developments that come to your counties. Now, on the state level, when we created state zoning laws, data centers wasn't a part of that. That wasn't something that we fathomed that we would have to deal with. So it looks like getting creative and going back and looking at the state zoning laws to make sure that we have laws to where data centers can't be in certain feet towards proximity to residential, schooling, or any other centers like that. Because again, when we created these state zoning laws, we knew about trucking, we knew about chemicals, we knew about power companies, we knew about telecommunications companies and how to deal with those and how far transmission lines need to be from human contact, but we didn't know about data centers. Third, we need to look at ways to power Georgia. As Representative Florence said, he heard me, I was booing Plant Vogtle. It started as a project that was like $13 million, and now it's like we don't know how much it's going to cost, and we are way times past 10 of $13 million. So that's getting creative. Right now in Morocco, there's a Nord solar plant that not only is Morocco 100% renewable energy, but they have so much energy, they're selling it to Europe. They're building transcontinental lines under the sea right now to power the UK, because the UK does not know how they're going to power themselves. So it's looking at ways, not only can we to create jobs, save our community, but how can we look forward to our future? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See how seasoned that young buck is?
All right, we're going to talk about bipartisanship. This is a nonpartisan forum. How important is it for state leaders to walk across party lines to deliver results? How will you prioritize people over party and personal agendas?
Ms. Moore.
Well, first of all, as a state legislator, y'all don't laugh at me, because there is no agenda when you have an entire community of people who want something, who want what's right in their community, and they're looking to us. We should not put politics in there. I can't even believe that I'm a politician. I'm not going to step away from it. And all the people who say, I'm not a politician, the moment you raise your hand and say, I am, you are. And so the politicking begins between the left and the right, and we have to go out there and make a way. And we have to be able to know the people, be able to work with them. And I do that every day. And I do it for the people in my district.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Rogers.
Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit earlier about, working with building coalitions and working across sectors. And so not only across civic and nonprofit and corporate and being able to represent those communities or those organizations, all of them are not democratic. And so being able to have to work to be able to compromise and work to be able to make sure we have the betterment for the district or for the community, those resources. So I'll do the same thing, take that same level of strategic planning and vision and working across party lines and building coalitions at the state level as well.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I think all of us want the same things. Right, left, red, blue. I just think we have different methods of getting to the same goals because I think most of us want the same thing. I've had the opportunity to do business from Noonan to Decatur, and you're going to deal with different people on a regular basis. Reaching across the aisle this is where we're trying to go. Are you trying to go to the same place? And if you're trying to go to that same place, let's find a common road we can go down to get here. And I think it's just as simple as that, but it's just as difficult as that at the same time. We're in a climate where, unfortunately, divisiveness is being used as a catalyst to keep eyeballs and to keep attention. And I think that it's up to whoever decides to be a legislator or be a politician to get rid of that. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Bell.
I've been serving for 2 years now in the legislature, and it seems like it's getting harder and harder to actually reach across the aisle because every time you extend your hand, it's met with a swat. That's just being frank. The other party uses the term bipartisanship in campaigns to say we work with Democrats, but when in the House, we had about 180 bills move out the House. They passed over to the Senate chamber. Less than 10, maybe 2%. 4 bills made it out the House that were Democratic. 3 bills actually got passed that were Democratic bills out of the House of Representatives. So to truly reach across the aisle, I think we're going to have to vote. And that's looking at your neighbors who vote Republican and say, your representation doesn't reach across the aisle. Your representation supports gerrymandering. Your representation doesn't mind coalescing with Nazis. Because it's getting harder, honestly, to go in there and bite the bullet every day, knowing that these individuals do not care about your community because the type of legislation they put forth, and if it gets me in trouble, oh, well, be it. Knowing that those individuals don't have the best mindset for your community, or even the state of Georgia. They rather sell it off to the highest bidder, whether that's our water, any type of natural resource we have, as we talked about the data centers, whether it's our utilities, sell it to the higher bidder. But as I continue to go in, I do reach across the aisle, and the best way I do it is do it with the Bible first. Try them on their faith. Because we sit there in a gold dome, and the gold is the best conductor of electricity, and as much as they say God's name and, oh Lord, as much as they say God's name, it's blasphemy, honestly. So I try them on the faith. I ask them, what would Jesus do? And that's my approach to bipartisanship. I put it in the Lord's hands and let them have it.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Johnson.
That's a great question. We live in a day and time where rage is selling. You can buy it at the dollar store or at Nordstrom's. Rage. We got to get back to the middle where people are pragmatic to understand where we need to go and how we work together because, like our representative said, we're serving people. I had a chance to represent 300 million Americans. I was president of the National Association of Counties, 3,000 counties. That means I went to Ruby Red, Idaho, and went to Blueberry, Illinois. The organization I represented was majority Republican, but the common ground was we talked about green space, infrastructure, just public safety, things that neighborhoods can connect to. And so going from Utah to Texas to New York, those commonalities said, we didn't see no colors. I told them there's no red pothole or no blue pothole. You just want that pothole filled. And I think what we have to do is move back to a point where we can connect the dots and talk. I had a chance to be on the Board of Governors for the state of Georgia. There's 159 counties here. I sat on a panel with Cherokee County and Lake Oconee County. And I'm in the middle of Dekalb County. We blew between two red counties, but we found common ground because we started talking about affordable housing. Affordable housing was never talked about a lot in Cherokee or Lake Oconee, but now we found common ground because our citizens now doesn't have a place to live. Affordability is used to be something that was in reach, but now we're trying to find people who are living in extended stay hotels with family members from different generations. So I would bring that state Senate District 10, just the common bipartisanship. But I understand that we're about to move to a point now that you're not going to have the Kemp type of Republicans. You're moving to the mega Republicans. And these are the folks that would call a special session on you. So you have to have people down there who understand, like I do, how to deal and do legislation and work with different parties, but go in there and be firm but fair and not give up what we have to do for our people.
Thank
I
you
might
so
have
much.
talked a lot of mess, but Republicans signed about 5 of my bills.
All right. Is that okay?
Some of 'em
Now,
okay.
before I go into the last question, we're going to take it to the audience. Do we have any questions from our audience for our illustrious panel today? Okay. If you can come to, yeah, she can bring it to you. She's coming to you, I'm sorry. She's coming to you.
I don't know quite what I'm asking, but at this level.
And before you start, I'm sorry, you have 30 seconds to answer, to ask your question.
Okay. At this level of the election, this level right here, what can we do collectively at this level of the election to bring the greatest impact to the federal elections of government handling? Do you understand?
Can you repeat that again? I think you kind of
What
went out.
can
Speak it to the mic for me.
What can this panel or these legislators here do? What is the biggest impact by voting now at this level? What is the biggest impact we bring to the federal elections and changing things at that level?
Okay. Did you all understand that question?
I'm not quite understanding, but in this election, you're going to elect your state senator and your PFC. There's some and your county commissioners, and your county commissioners and city council members. Those are the people that have direct contact to you. That's why it's so important. We're further out, they're closer up. If you don't vote for the people who are in your city council right now, then you're lost. You have no representation. So it's so important. The federal elections ensue next year. You're getting to know some of them. Some of the people who are vacating the spots right now to run for federal and other gubernatorial and all that, they're the ones who are in the news today, but their elections don't start till next year. So let's get it straight. Start to get next to the people and vote for them that are next to you, your city council, your county commissioners, and so on and so forth, that are right here in your county, regardless of which county you're in.
And we'll just go down the line. Ms. Rogers.
Yeah, so I would say, well, personally, I do serve as the community district chair for my local Dekalb Dems party. And so being a boots on the ground, turning out the vote to educate our community and the voters has been very important in order for you to know who to be informed for our city councils, as well as the PSC. So we've done a lot of voter education, voter registration, and now, of course, it's time to get out the vote. So if you are able to be a post-seat holder or to work for the election, to be able to not educate voters at that time, but also to see what that looks like, what your vote has that ability to look like at that time. The other portion is because we want to engage our voters, community in seasonality. There's always elections, but to be able to keep their attention after this election too, to make sure we rally them up for the midterm elections in May. Hope that made sense for you. Okay, good.
Representative Flournoy.
Yeah, and I believe, I think you might have mentioned it, but it is important to make sure that you are informed. I want to just acknowledge each and every person that's in the audience for being here, because that's part of the solution. Each and every seat should be filled, because when each and every seat is filled, then you go and you talk to your family, you talk to your neighbors, you pass on the information, and we become a more informed electorate. Without that, then it becomes more difficult, even though, we're talking about legislators tonight. You elect legislators, and then we go do our part at the Capitol in Atlanta, but making sure that those that represent us the way that we want them to in D.C. is a totally different thing. But I believe it starts with making sure that we are informed, passing on the information, and holding those accountable that represent us.
Thank you so much, Representative Bell.
By voting on this level, how it affects you federally, I've noticed prior to electing and post getting elected, the ease that it is to get into contact with those federal individuals. So when you have individuals on this level, we hear you. We can have contact with those federal agencies, or have easier contact with those federal agencies, whether it's in Jonesboro, we're having a flooding issue. Prior to getting elected, it was kind of hard to get in contact with the congressman and tell them, hey, we're having flooding issues. The Army Corps of Engineers needs to get out here and check this out to resurvey this land. And now that I'm elected, down the constituents say we're having these flooding issues, I send an email or call someone in the office, they say, all right, we can work on this issue. And sometimes they don't know that this is an issue, because in Congress, they represent, in Georgia, maybe 2 million people. The senators, federal senators, represent 13 million people apiece. So those are all issues coming from Clarkston County all the way to Valdosta, or coming from Dalton to Douglasville, and sometimes it falls under the rug. So if you don't have proper representation at the state level or at the local level that can talk to those individuals, sometimes your voice will go unheard or unnoticed. Thank you.
And I would just add, I think when you look at federal, state, and county and cities, these are political lines that people have created. What you're about to see now with WIC being shut off, with us not having federal workers going to work, those are your neighbors. Those are conversations we need to have at the kitchen table in the neighborhood that informs them about having elections like us, state representatives, state senators, but collectively, how does that impact me right now? And it's going to impact us a lot, because Meals on Wheels is impacted. That's a federal program, but guess what? Those seniors live in your neighborhood, and they may not get a meal, and sometimes that's the only person that senior will get to talk to, but guess who doesn't talk to them? So all of those things impact you. So I want us to just erase federal, state, county lines and just look at people. Everybody is represented by people. Politics is 100% people business. Don't get it twisted. This is about you. This is about us. That's your money. Every time you go spend, buy gas, buy groceries, you're contributing to your federal, state, and local budgets. So that's all of us. People get you mixed up and talk about different levels, but the bottom line is you are paying your tax dollars. That means you are at the table for each and every decision, and you need to have those discussions, because we're hitting that wall right now, and we got to make sure people understand that our neighbors, our little kids, Head Start is being impacted. Pre-K is being impacted. College scholarships, tuition is being impacted. That impacts all of us. And that's why it's good to have you all here. But have these conversations after we leave here. Get a group of 5 to 10 people and further this conversation, because people are, like I said, rage is selling where people just disengage. They don't want to talk to each other, and you get worry, you get anxiety going, but it's time for us to come together.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
To answer your question, politics is local. I think you said it best, but I'll rephrase it. If you can touch me, you might not be able to touch him, but I might be able to touch him. So if you can touch me, then I can touch him for you. And that's a game that's been played, whether that's a corporate game, whether that's a political or representative game. That game is consistent.
And we'll take one more question before we get to candidates 2, group 2. All right?
Good evening, candidates. I'm Carlos Moore, one of the candidates for Congress, and I'm here tonight to support you, and I applaud each of you for offering yourself a service. My question to you is, if President Trump should approach Governor Kemp after you're elected to redistrict the lines to try to draw out the Democrats, what would you do?
And I just want to reiterate, this is a nonpartisan forum, but they can't answer the question. And we will start with...
We are going to start with Mrs. Rogers.
Can you repeat the last part of the question?
If districts are withdrawn, how would you support that or not support that? All right, she's going to bring the mic to him so they can hear it.
Okay.
What would be your response should number 45 and number 47 go to Governor Kemp and ask him to redraw the lines, congressional lines?
For the state of Georgia.
Okay. Well, thank you for that question. Thank you for repeating it for me. I would definitely voice my concern as a state senator to, of course, it has to go to, the proper channels, the House and the Senate, if it gets to that point. But I want to be very clear that that is an attack on our communities, an attack on our communities of color and our families to have representation that look like them. And so I would definitely voice my opinion. I would definitely speak up. I would definitely make sure that I would, whatever, if we do not have the majority, still go across party lines and still be praying that they listen to what we have to say, because my voice is still going to be very important for those lines not to be drawn. But it is a very, very serious topic, as we were doing a lot of education in the last redistricting as well. And so, again, thank you for that question.
Thank you. And we'll go with Representative Bell.
That's a loaded question. I'm an activist at heart. Prior to being elected, organized with Black Lives Matter and other activist organizations across. So it'll be time to activate. It'll be time to make sure that every citizen that's not only in this chambers and seats here, but across the state of Georgia, come down to make sure that know that our governor has no backbone, that the Republican Party has given up their allegiance to the state of Georgia and given it over to an orange creamsicle colored person. It'll be time to raise all banners and flags and let them know in the spirit of Paul Revere that the oligarchs are coming, the British are coming, or whatever you want to go, they're coming. They're not only coming for your homes, they're coming for your houses, they're coming for your family, because it's not about black, white, red, green, yellow, or brown. It's about rich and poor. And as long as you can pay to play, they're going to play. If we don't watch out, we're going to be looking around at each other, and not only are we driving Tesla cars, we're going to be driving we're going to be wearing Tesla face masks, because President 45 and Brian Kemp have colluded to privatize or commoditize every single thing we have, including our air. In other states, they already have commoditized water, where Nestle and other companies own the actual water rights. Hear me out. They actually own the water in other states, privatized companies. That's going to be something that's look like that's going to happen in the state of Georgia if we allow our governor not to stand up for the people of Georgia the way he wouldn't stand up for other people. I mean, how can you coalesce with somebody that called your wife ugly? It's just tough. So that's the type of things we're dealing with.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Flournoy.
Yeah, I agree with my brother here. At that point in time, it's all hands on deck. We are fighting. I think you all might have seen the example this past year where the Democratic caucus, we walked out on a piece of legislation. But I also believe that there's a calculus to understand that when we say we use everything at our disposal, we mean everything. So there are some things that require a 2/3 vote in the House. We have what's called a super minority. There are currently 80 House representatives that are Democrat, 100 that are Republican. That means that if you need 2/3 of anything to get passed, you need to come to us. And so if they tried that, then those things that will require an amendment or something that would require them to come to us, we're going to look at them real funny and say, we ain't talking about nothing until we talk about these maps of what you're trying to do. And so at that point in time, it's about strategy, it's about activism, it's about everything, because we see the sign, the handwriting on the wall in other states, that it seems like it's coming this way. But yeah, we got a backbone, so we would do everything that we could to make sure we push back.
Mr. Johnson?
You have to sue their butts. You got to sue. You got to make sure you get together with the Legal Defense Fund, the NAACP, the ACLU, the Bar Association, Black Lawyer Association, Hispanic Lawyer Association. You have to put a full front effort. This is a code red situation. You cannot wait and waver and eat Wonder Bread like my granny was saying, wonder what's going to happen next, because you see it. And so that's what we do. And then you get groups to sign on as friends of the petition, different civil rights groups, different organizations, so you can have power behind this lawsuit. And you got to keep taking it to the court. It's a legal fight. At that point, you stay on the streets. We'll do that. But you also got to be in that courtroom. And I think that's what I would do. I would just get out there, get those legal groups together, and say, no, we're not going back. We're going forward. And we're not going to wait for you to sue, wait for you to take it. We're going to go out there and we're going to do some preemption. You can't wait. If you see the sign on the writing on the wall, you get those groups together and you have your meetings, you huddling now on what the next step is, because they're very clear what they want to do. It's very clear. They're not hiding it. So you have to make sure you have it from a legal, activist point of view, get your young people together, and you just do a full throttle attack to make sure you say, we're not going to take it no more.
Thank you.
Ms. Moore?
Well, every 10 years in the legislature, we have redistricting. And the people who are in power, which is the other side, the red team, they get to choose how they draw the lines. But we have something that John Lewis put into effect that allows our rights as Democrats and minorities to be protected. And so in that, when the level of disrespect from the other side was so high that they were just trying to get out a congresswoman, but yet every time you move an inch on a map, you move someone else out of their district. They've literally have written out Democrats out of their district. So if I'm the sitting legislator, then they have written me out completely. And they've also taken it so far where they've taken 2 districts, smushed them into one, vet the 2 people who are in those districts, and we have lost some of our people. So we went from one number to one less, or how many, and some people had to bow out gracefully, and they've been in their seats forever. Some people have just gotten their retirement funds vested, and some people had to be kicked out of their district. It's so unfair. And so I forget what the question was, something about the governor and Trump, or the governor and the president. But when you have a side that's in power, and all they care about is more power, we're fighting. We have leadership. We have to follow our leadership. And when we elect our leadership in the House, we have to take in consideration that that leadership has the qualifications that we need to be able to follow so that we can lead for you all. We fought, we argued, we paid out of our dues for a lawyer, and we took the Republicans to task in the courts, and the judge found it in our favor. They had to rewrite those maps.
Thank you so much.
So that we could stay in our districts, but we did lose some people. It is unfair. It is
Representative
horrible.
Moore,
I'm sorry
time.
to just tell y'all the truth about it.
I understand, but we have to respect the time.
Well, I'm gonna shut up there. But it is ugly. It's very ugly.
Okay.
Ms.
And he's right. You need a lawyer.
Mr. Smith?
This is an attack. There's no other way to really say that. When you know when the attack is imminent, then you must act prior to that happening. So yes, there are certain plays that, certain strategies that can be put in place, 80-100. You spoke to that earlier. There are other strategies that need to be put in place. You start filing your lawsuits early. When you see legislation come behind, or even the intent of legislation coming to redistrict and gerrymander us right up out of the game, you have to get on the attack. you have to attack by reaching across the aisle. If you want this, you're not going to get it if this is going to happen over here. Even if you're going to think about suggesting and towing the line, then that's not going to happen. You got to start, do a full court press and begin attacking. And I think one of the problems that we have or we've had in other states is that people have not gone on the attack. It's as simple as that. I think one of the problems that Democrats as a whole has had is not going on the attack. Attack. Don't be scared, attack. Because you're getting attacked, and I believe that.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to these candidates tonight. Stand up and let them see you. Representative Robert Flournoy, House District 74. Representative Eric Bell, House District 75. Commissioner Larry Jones, candidate for Senate District 10. Representative Angela Moore, House District 91. Ms. Gabrielle Rogers, candidate for Senate District 10. And Mr. Sylvester Smith, candidate for Senate District 10. Give them another round of applause as well tonight. We thank you so much. And hopefully you'll be able to talk with these candidates and incumbents as well at the end of the forum tonight. Thank you so much. Again, we thank you all for coming. With you being here shows that you are involved and civically engaged. And this is why we host these forums as the 13th Congressional Federation of Democratic Women, and we made them also nonpartisan in partnership with Dr. Jamal Bryan and New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to see these candidates, and that's why we started early as well. Some of you say they don't run until next year. But if you wait until next year and not knowing who's on the ballot, and knowing who's actually running for re-election, then that's why we don't get people to the polls. So we're starting early at the 13th Congressional Federation of Democratic Women to make you aware as well. And now we're going to move on to our second panel. Starting with Representative Rhonda Taylor, House District 92, representing Rockdale County. Representative Sharon Henderson, House District 113, representing Newton County. Representative Sam Park, House District 107, Gwinnett County. Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Sogan Adina, House District 110, Gwinnett County. Mr. Joshua Presley, candidate for House District 108, Gwinnett County. Nico Pera, candidate for House District 109, Gwinnett County. Mr. Don Mahu, candidate for House District 109, Gwinnett County. No? Okay. Attorney Juan Estrada, candidate for House District 109, Gwinnett County. Again, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer their question. They'll have 1 minute to introduce themselves. And we're going to start with Representative Rhonda Taylor, House District 92.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me. I am State Representative Rhonda Taylor, and I serve the 92nd, the awesome 92nd district, which is primarily 95% of Rockdale County. This is my 5th year in the Georgia Legislative General Assembly, I serve on the motor vehicles, the special rules, agriculture and consumer affairs, and on the juvenile justice committees. And I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll have Representative Sharon Henderson. Each candidate has 1 minute to introduce themselves.
Good evening. I am Representative Sharon Henderson. I represent the 113th District, which includes Newton County. The cities are Covington, Georgia, Porterdale, and Oxford. I serve on committees, banks and banking, retirement, and budget and fiscal oversight committees. I am serving in my 3rd term, and I am glad to be here and excited. And I have ventured out to pass and have legislation signed into law for health care. And I am working diligently for the healthcare arena as well as other areas as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Representative Sagan Adina, House District 110. Did I pronounce your name correctly at the end?
You tried, and I'll correct you. So I'm Representative Shagun Adena, House District 110, and that covers parts of Grayson, Loganville and Gwinnett, Snellville, and a little bit of Lawrenceville. I serve on the Education, the Technology, Innovation, and Infrastructure Committees, and the Creative Arts and Entertainment. This is my second term, third year, and I really work for my community. And even though I represent my district, I impact everyone in the state. So when I make decisions in the House as a second-term legislator, I don't just think of my district, but I think about how it impacts the rest of the state.
Thank you so much. Candidate Joshua Presley, House District 108 candidate.
Good evening. I live in Snellville in Gwinnett County, and I'm looking to continue to expand my ability to reach the people of the county and to reach the people of Georgia. I'm hoping that if I am elected, that I would be able to just offer myself as a voice for the voiceless, for those that are moving back into the shadows because of the changing demographic and the changing society that we are existing in. So I'm hoping that with that opportunity that I can really make a difference by making sure that I'm showing myself available to them in that time.
Thank you so much. Nico Pera, candidate for House District 109.
Hello, hi. So thank you so much for this invitation. I'm glad to be here with these fellow candidates and legislators. My name is Nico Para, and I'm running for House District 109. I'm a Lawrenceville resident, a product of the Gwinnett County Public School System, and I come from a family of working class immigrants. And so from that, I was able to learn and appreciate the struggles that our many families in 109 are going through, especially when it comes to financial instability. And so a big part of our campaign and platform is focusing on attacking the cost of living, the crisis that is facing many of our communities right now.
Thank you so much. Attorney Juan Estrada, candidate for House District 109, Gwinnett.
Good evening, everybody. Despite what she said, my first name isn't attorney. It's Juan.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just messing with you. So my name is Juan Estrada. I am a practicing attorney in Gwinnett County. I went to Norcross High School, Central Gwinnett, and then graduated from Norcross High School due to unstable housing growing up. But my mom did try her best with me and my 5 siblings to get us through the day. So what I ended up doing with her grit and her resilience is I ended up going to law school where I became an attorney, but more importantly, it's not what your title is, it's about what you do with your title. So what do I do during my day job? I fight landlords all day, not physically, but I fight slumlords. I sue them all day. I sue insurance companies, the same insurance companies who will take your money but deny your claims. So I live in a community that I hope to represent because I actually do the work already, and I hope that that transfers into the state legislature if the district gives me the chance.
Thank you so much. As we begin our question, again, candidates, you have 2 minutes to respond to the question. If you do need me to repeat the question, I will do so. Some of the questions were sent in from those who registered for the event this evening, as well as our senior caucus, and I'm going to start there with our senior caucus. Would you support a bill providing a $200 monthly food card for seniors to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables, considering the rising costs of healthy groceries? And we will start with Representative Adina.
Representative Dana.
I'm going to get it right.
You'll get it right. So I believe our seniors do deserve relief. I do believe that as legislators, we have to look at ways in supporting the needs and demands in our communities. I live in my district. I'll say probably, especially in the Grayson area, we have a decent-sized senior community. And looking at what our economy is doing today, and there's a we had a running joke at the Capitol where, what's the price of eggs? The price of eggs have literally gone up. And even though they claim they're coming down, they blamed it on the bird flu, but really that wasn't the case. It's our economy. When we start talking about the things that are hitting our economy today, everything from tariffs to the cost of goods, and those are things that we have to consider. Those are costs that are bundled in and passed on to the general public. So I would support some kind of program that would give credit and relief to our seniors. I think that's very critical and important in these times today.
Ms. Taylor.
Yes, while I appreciate the question in regards to providing some food assistance to the seniors, I think we're all needing some help in the food department. There's not anything that we can do directly on the state level to give out those cards, but we can fund organizations who can utilize the funding and provide the assistance. And there are some programs on the federal level as well as on the state level that currently do that, Meals on Wheels. But that's not the same as getting a card or, a debit card or like the food stamp card that you can take into the store. So it'd be very difficult. However, I would support funding an organization or putting money in the budget for organizations that are willing to provide assistance, food assistance to anyone and everyone, because right now we're all in need.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Estrada.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I would support that program. We have about $16 billion in the bank, but I think this question is important because it's indicative of other questions. So when I think about a question of what we spend our money on, I think about my own philosophy. What would I want to pay for with my tax dollars? And feeding seniors who need the help is definitely one of those things. So when I think about what would I want to spend money on, it would be the people, especially the people who have already contributed so much to our communities. They helped us when we were kids, when we were growing up. They held our hands, they raised us. There is no question that we should be there when they need us because they were there when we needed them. So that actually goes into something else. What are we going to spend our money on as a state? I believe that we need to spend our money not only on the previous generation, but also on the next generation. Right now in Gwinnett County, there's something called East Blast. And for the first time in about 30 years, it is under attack. What is East Blast? It is an already existing educational sales tax that is used to fund schools. So if you ask me this question, my philosophy is we got to spend money on the people who need it because eventually maybe we'll need them. It's all about building a community and making sure that we spend our money in places that works for us as a people and not for people who don't need it. Just like these billionaires who are getting tax breaks, just like these data centers who may or may not pay for everything that they cost to us. So that is my philosophy. We should spend our money to help others, especially those in our own communities.
Thank you.
Mr. Presley.
Yes, I believe that we should build infrastructure to be able to give out those types of cards to seniors. I believe right now, as the young lady stated, that is not the case. So what can we do? We do have about $14.3 billion in reserves for the state of Georgia, $9 billion of which is not allocated. So what can we do in the short term? Look at potentially using a part of that $9 billion to support our seniors. What can we do in the long term? Also look at building the infrastructure so that in the future we can offer those types of cards or work out some type of infrastructure where the system that the federal uses can also receive an allocation from the state in the future. Yes, we do not have the infrastructure right now in the short term, but we can build it. We can make it so that we can do this in the future. So I would support it, utilizing the money right now for the types of things that she stated, but also considering a future infrastructure upgrades so that the SNAP cards will be able to receive those type of funds if we have those types of surpluses for the state in the future.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Henderson.
Yes, absolutely. My answer is a capital Y-E-S. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm a simple and basic grassroots legislator. And as a legislator, my husband and I visit the senior centers in my district every 2 weeks. And we take them bread, cake products, whatever products we have from the local stores. And during these visits, you would be surprised of the seniors that come to me and my husband. Thank you for taking the time to bring us food and bread products, because you haven't forgotten about us, because a lot of us do not have even food in our refrigerator because of inflation prices, because of, we're not going to even start with the government shutdown, but all of these things play a part. Seniors do not even qualify for more than $10 or $15 in food stamp and SNAP products. And that is really a shame, because our seniors includes retired teachers, retired nurses, retired doctors. All of these are seniors that have been paid their dues to society. So for that reason, yes, I, for one, take time out every 2 weeks and additionally take food and any products that we can to our local seniors in my district. Covington Crossing, Turner Lake Senior Center, they see us every 2 weeks because of food products. So therefore, yes, I will definitely support $200 as a minimum to seniors.
Mr. Para.
Absolutely, I would push for that. As someone who has been in community, as someone who knows that 1 in 5 residents live below the poverty line, someone who knows that 1 in 10 seniors live under the poverty line here in District 109, I understand that this is a cost of living crisis that needs to be tackled on. And this is one way of providing that much needed relief. As someone who has been volunteering for the Gwinnett County government in the past with the summer meals program, many times people who would come by to our table in tent and requested food were seniors. And so that's one thing that we need to push for. Honestly, this issue impacts all ages, but especially, as we mentioned, seniors that have contributed so much to the system that we see right now. And so them not getting anything back in return is something that is shameful. It's something that speaks to the priorities of our government put in place right now at the state and federal level, and it is something that we need to tackle on.
Thank you so much. As we move on, let's talk about economic development. Growth in your counties, which includes Newton, Rockdale, and Gwinnett, is bringing both opportunity and strain. How will you balance attracting new business with protecting existing neighborhoods and ensuring equitable economic growth?
Mr. Presley?
Yeah, so one of the things that I grew up an Atlanta native. I was born and raised in Atlanta, grew up on the southwest side of Atlanta. And one of the things I've noticed about the way that Atlanta operates when it comes to how neighborhood development is done, they have what are called neighborhood progress units. I think that's what it's called. And they call them NPUs. And when certain cities, parts of the city are growing, those units are engaged. That would be something that I would want to implement in Gwinnett County, is to have a neighborhood progress unit to work with businesses and to help spur the growth and control how to grow. I think Lilburn is suffering from a growth that is not regulated or controlled, and we're dealing with a lot of traffic in the Lilburn area. And as a candidate, I will be representing Lilburn as well as Mountain Park and Snellville. So one of the problems that they're having is that a lot of businesses and houses are being built, but the building is, as far as the zoning and the building, it's unregulated. With neighborhoods participating in that process, we can get community input, and we can also continue to have intelligent growth as opposed to unregulated growth. And that's one of the ways that I would work with businesses as well as with neighborhoods to make sure that there's an engagement there in how the city grows and in what type of growth comes to that city. Sometimes there are people that want to grow in certain cities. The first panel was talking about the data centers. Shouldn't the neighborhood have some input in that type of growth entering into their community? I think that neighborhood progress units would be an idea that would work well for those types of situations where you do have people that are bringing businesses that will not necessarily fully help the
I
community.
apologize, you had time. Thank you.
Mr. Para.
Yes, of course. So this is something that, as a state representative, I can work with county commissioners and with city council to ensure that there is affordable housing, to ensure that people are not being pushed out of where they live. One of the big things one thing to note is that in 109, we have over 4 cities. We have Lawrenceville, Lilburn, Norcross, and Duluth, including parts of Lilburn and Lawrenceville proper. And I am proud to say that I have the endorsement that I am working with currently, our Lawrenceville City Councilman Austin Thompson, who is pushing for affordable housing, ensuring that landlords and corporations are held accountable. One thing to note is that over 1 in 2 residents in 109 live in apartments, and so a big part as well is focusing on rent stabilization, focusing on rent caps. That is one thing that we can work on to ensure that residents who've lived there for many, many years are not being pushed out of their homes and apartments.
Ms. Henderson.
Yes, growth, and especially in my district in Newton County, we've seen, of course, we have Facebook and we have other businesses, but the newest development in my district is the Rivian plant that has had their groundbreaking about 3 weeks ago. That plant alone is going to employ and grow 4,500 jobs at that one plant, which is hoping to open in at least 2 years. Right now, it's beginning with construction. Those are jobs. Next will be implemented administration. Those are jobs. The assembly line. Those are jobs. So definitely the growth in my district alone is being substantiated by different plants. And like I said, the Rivian plant is one big plant that's going to bring several jobs, several good-paying jobs, I might add, to the district.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Estrada.
Yeah, so the question is about economic growth in business and bringing it, right? So I believe in the power of small business. I believe small business is the heart of every one of our communities. So myself, I own a law firm in my own district, and one of the things that I noticed was that there wasn't a lot of help for small businesses. If you wanted to open up a small business, you would have to kind of take a giant risk, a giant leap of faith. I believe that we need to start putting power back into these small businesses because let's be honest about it. Small businesses are the businesses that pay the taxes, that stay ingrained in our community, and continue to contribute in many other different ways. How many of you have ever been to either a football game, a baseball game, high school, right? Most of the sponsors are small businesses. They're small businesses. But I also believe in the power of public transportation for big businesses. A lot of the times when you talk to these companies, well, we talk to representatives from these companies, and hey, where do they choose to go? They choose to go somewhere where their employees can stay. I live in, or where they could get to work easily. I live in Gwinnett County. The closest MARTA station to us is in Doraville, and most of Doraville is in Dekalb County or Fulton County, one of those two. But we need to create an infrastructure that allows people to get to and from work easily, but we also need to make sure that our small businesses are supported because they are the backbone of our society.
Thank you.
Ms. Taylor.
The $100 question. I want the question from the gentleman over there, too. But yes, economic development is vital in any community, and the basis for bringing businesses to any community is going to be first the income range. That Rockdale is the second smallest county by landmass in the whole state, and we are building townhomes like 85 going south, but we don't have a lot of the economic development that we need. And we are literally trying to work on that now, but you gotta have good schools, you gotta have the income, and you gotta have the amenities. And so businesses come, but they're not, like we were just talking the other day and we were saying, we don't have a fine dining experience in Rockdale County. And so, and we're having, don't forget the FIFA Cup is coming to Atlanta next year. And we were just talking about that with the city council and the commissioners because are we prepared for that? But it's gonna take community involvement, it's gonna take school system involvement, it's gonna take from the state level to make sure that we are offering those incentives to bring in the businesses, the kind of businesses that we want. And I think sometimes we get overwhelmed with just the fact that it's a business, because the taxes, your property taxes are impacted by economic development. The data centers, I'm gonna say this quickly, you gotta demand something in return. They are here, they're not going away, but you can ensure that they are investing back into your community while they are here, because they're not bringing jobs. Now, as one said before, Georgia does require that they have their own water system, underground water system that filtrates, as well as using their own generators to do their power. So things like that matter because it impacts your property taxes.
Mr. Adenia.
All right, I've had some time to think. So, from an economic development standpoint, when I look at Gwinnett, Gwinnett has a population has gone up to over 1 million now. So you can just imagine the demand on our infrastructure. And when I look at infrastructure, I look at everything from schools. Our schools are overcrowded. That's a challenge. I don't know how many new schools we've had to be able to address that quick growth. We also see a lot of, we have a challenge with housing, affordable housing that people can, live in and get to their jobs. I mean, that's also crucial. So a big part of the work we do, we also have to work with our municipalities, we have to work with the county officials, and work with the school boards to talk about what are their strategies to address this growth. I know anyone living in Gwinnett County can attest to the traffic that we have. I mean, it's just horrendous. I mean, driving throughout Gwinnett County. And that's why I think it's important that we have to look at we had a referendum last year we voted on for transportation that failed because people are afraid of people coming from the city to steal from their homes. That's horrendous. We never heard of that. I've never seen anyone carry a TV on a public transportation, right? So we have to be realistic. There's growth that's happening. We don't have the right infrastructure. How do we get the infrastructure? And it's everything from, again, schools, businesses, hospitals, you name it. All those are part of the infrastructure we need to plan for. So we have to work closely with our elected officials, right from our municipalities all the way up. One last thing I want to add, one of the things I did at this last session, working with some of my colleagues, was City of Snellville is building a new community center. We're able to secure $100,000 towards that. That is part of the work that we have to do as legislators to make sure we advocate and fund projects in our community.
Thank you so much. Now let's talk about HOA reform. I'm pretty sure many of you have been, and I see some smiles on your faces. Many residents have raised concerns about the power of homeowners association and the loss of homes due to small unpaid fees. Do you support updating state law to protect homeowners' rights and limit excessive penalties?
Ms. Henderson.
Yes, I would support the HOA. Most HOAs have of course, communities that our professionals live. We have communities where you have entertainment people that actually reside. However, the average HOA fee per year is between $500 and $600. These HOA fees are not always used properly. They are not always used in a productive manner to support the resident that live in those communities. So therefore, I have been called to some HOA meetings to actually instruct HOA presidents that when you collect these funds from the residents of these neighborhoods, you should be spending funds for making sure the swimming pool is fitting and proper, make sure it's clean, make sure it's taken care of, the tennis courts, whatever amenities you have in your resident in the HOA arena, The funds should be used primarily to take care of these amenities. You shouldn't open up during the summer with the pool that's unclean and has leaves and all these other filth and trash included, because you have young people that go in, young people that actually go in and try to make use of themselves during the summertime. So the HOAs have a primary responsibility to use these funds properly to the best of their ability, but that has not been the case in all communities.
Mr. Estrada.
So not only would I support reforming HOAs to give power back to the residents, but on a daily basis, I actually represent these residents who are suffering from the overreach of these HOAs. So let me tell you guys something, and this is not fantasy. If you have a $100 fine, they could take you to court, foreclose your house, and also charge you attorney's fees. And there is very little or nothing that you could do about it. Why is that? That's because our state has allowed for this to happen. That's because there are not enough legislators who agree that the power should be taken away from the HOAs and back to the people. People buy their houses with the hopes of having a future in that house, with the hopes of raising children, with the hopes of having a community. All of that can be taken away by an HOA. And I get it, you do have to pay your HOA fees. There is a point to having a uniform community, but it should not come at the cost of the anxiety of the people who live there, who could lose their homes at any time because some HOA said your garbage can was maybe 2 feet in. Your lawn was maybe a few centimeters too tall. I believe that we need to rein in these HOAs and actually implement penalties against them so they are afraid of being sued for the wrong that they do. As it is right now, that is not the case. So if I am elected, I will take the experience that I have actually advocating for these homeowners in court and let the world know this is what's happening on the ground, this is what I've seen, and we cannot let it happen anymore.
Ms. Taylor.
Well, not only would I support it, I have authored legislation every year that I've been there. That's the 6th year. And there is about 4 of us that have different housing legislation. And we have had hearings, maybe 3 hearings every legislative term to address this. And we have heard horror stories, literally bring tears to your eyes at some of the things that are happening and how easy it is to take someone's property from them, and how the boards come together and elect themselves and run in cahoots with each other, and how they buy up the property after they take the house from you, the home from you. So each term, the bill has a different number, so I'm just going to refer to the bill, the different bills that we have. We made some traction this year, but we went to the Senate side, and we were even going to be able to get an ombudsman, because what we're finding out is that once they try to sue you, the reason why they win so often is because you can't afford an attorney. So having an ombudsman that would be the mediator would be a part of the solution. It did not get through, but we made some progress. My rental bill was the only bill in the House that even got a hearing this year after 4 years. I'm very proud of that. And that was to remove the prohibition on the rental law. The Georgia prohibits us from restraining the rent amounts that can be increased. And I'm not saying that we want to put a level on it on the state level, but I want to remove that prohibition so that local municipalities, remember this, local control is super important. Don't ever give up your local control. But those that are in the local control can determine based on their area and their community whether they need rent control. Buckhead may not need rent control, but we know DeKalb County and on down, we need some help. And so I'll be very happy to continue that fight. I say it every year, I'm gonna drop it till they hear me.
Mr. Adania.
All right. So as a legislator, I kind of wear 2 hats. I'm also on my HOA. So sometimes that's difficult, right? But the truth is, this summer I attended a few study committees addressing HOAs, and there are a lot of abuses out there that do have to be reined in, no doubt. And the other part too, definitely, I cringe when I hear cases of homes being taken away from people who had a dream and bought their homes and have invested so much. But the other thing I think about is also on the other side. When you live in an HOA, you have to play your part. You have to participate. That's why it's so important to attend HOA meetings. It's so important to speak up. It's so important to engage your HOA leaders. It's just like us up here, your legislators or people who are running for you. Same thing. And for you to participate and step up, because sometimes we have HOA meetings where you have less than 70% of the community present. But yet, you have 30% or less making those decisions for you. And that's wrong. So I say the power is already with you as a resident. You're paying those dues. You should participate. When they're changing the bylaws, when they're practices, when they're giving preferential treatment to vendors that they know. We have a process in our HOA, and we let our community know where you're bidding on any project, you have to at least have 3 or 4 vendors. And it's public to everyone in the community. So I'll say at the end of the day, make sure you're participating if you live in an HOA, because not everyone lives in an HOA, so you don't have that challenge. But if you live in an HOA, participate, vote, run for one of the positions, because again, you can be voted to make that change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Presley.
I'm going to kind of agree with Sagun. I am a part of the HOA, and I have seen both sides of the coin. I do believe, though, there needs to be some type of way where we have some type of advocate for those homeowners who are running into issues with paying the HOA fees. I think that is something, there should be some type of arbitration built into the process so that you can't just sue that individual and have that individual lose their home. We can build into our processes, if we present it properly in the legislature, some type of arbitration so that we don't have people losing their houses and having these horror stories that you guys are seeing and hearing about so often. And we should go hard against a lot of the homeowners associations that are abusing their power. I know that a lot of homeowners associations have management groups, and those management groups are for profit. So there are a lot of reasons why your homeowners fees go up is because they are trying to gain more profit for managing the homeowners association. So, and a lot of those people have relationships with the presidents that are elected. So like he said, please engage in the homeowners association process and make sure you're going to the meetings and understanding how all the dots are connected in your community, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're uninformed and not realizing that they're padding the pockets of these homeowner management companies in these communities. So one thing I would say, we should go harder and stronger against those people that are abusing the process. The second thing I would say is that we need to build some type of arbitration so that we don't have homeowners associations throwing people out on the street.
Mr. Para.
HOA needs reform. And I say that as the HOA president, actually. And so this is an issue where when I took over the HOA board a year ago, many houses, many residents were in collections. They were facing foreclosure. And this was an issue that on day one, our team, the HOA board, decided to take every single house out of collections, out of the risk of foreclosure. They made sure to set up all these houses on payment plans. And we made sure to communicate, because the previous board oftentimes would not send any sort of letters, any sort of communication until it was too late. So I do agree with you as someone who serves in the HOA and someone who prior to that was helping my family as well pay the HOA dues and fines and fees. I do sincerely believe there should be HOA reform.
Thank you.
Can
I think I asked a great question because we have HOA presidents and board members sitting up here, so it's great to hear from them. I would love to have you rebuttal, Representative, but we didn't do it for the first one, so I apologize for that. As we go to education and youth, Georgia continues to face teacher shortage and youth disengagement. What legislation would you propose to strengthen public education, expand youth programs, and to ensure fair pay for educators?
Ms. Taylor.
The question, that is not at our level. That's the county Parks and Recreation they can apply for grants, state grants, federal grants to get funding to help offset the cost of those programs. But that's nothing, we don't just, go and create a program and say, here, county, you have to implement it. So that's kind of a weird question. It really
So
is.
let me rephrase that for you so I can make sure
Yeah.
you have one that's on your level, on the state level is what I'm saying. How would you support teacher shortage, which will also include on the state level, as well as public education and fair pay for educators?
Well, the teachers just got another raise this year, which was good. They got two, one last year and one this year. We did totally fund the QBE formula, but there's a lot to be done. The mental health, this year we put up, I think it was like 12 million back into the mental health. So we're doing things, we put more money into the school systems for them to be able to have mental health nurses, because right now you may have one nurse for 25 schools in a certain district or area. And so we put money back into that. The mental parity bill, which we passed in 2022, it has been funded, but it's only doing pilot programs now. That's gonna help a lot in working with the children, the youth in the school systems. But I think that the state we don't really pay. And what hit them this past year was the state decided that the school system was gonna have to be responsible for covering some of their benefits. So that made the schools go into a lot of debt. And so we having these wraparound issues, and we don't have all the solutions to them. But we are working now to go back in and give them another raise, hopefully in 2026, with that $14 billion that we have in reserve. So hopefully we just keep fighting. We do a little bit. It's not that we're stagnant, but the steps are small steps that we do to help overall for schools as well as for the teachers.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Presley.
So one of the things I think that we should be doing is looking at how we can be supportive of the 159 counties in the state. How can we address in a holistic way providing some type of funding mechanism that is built into the budget yearly? And I think that a lot of the stuff that the state does is stopgap stuff, right? We are trying to fill in the gaps, but I think that and I know that the Democrats don't have the ability to do a lot of these things, but if there is a way for us to build into our budget the type of mechanisms similar to what we have as eSPLOS or something like that, it would help to offset some of the problems that they have at the county level. So that would be something that I would promote and suggest as a bill, to make sure that we had something similar to that built into the process for our budgeting. Also, I would definitely work with the cities and the county school districts in my particular district. I would work with the Gwinnett County School District, as well as some of the local schools within Gwinnett County, to try to figure out where the need levels are and see if there's some way that I can add that to some of the processes that we're trying to build into the bills that will be put forth going forward in that particular legislative cycle. Those would be things that I would make suggestions for. I know it's hard, very hard, to get anything passed as a Democrat right now, but I think that if we can figure out a way forward and work with individuals on the other side that might be interested in doing this, I think we can find a way to add that to our process.
Thank you.
Mr. Adania.
All right, so I sit on an education committee, and the bottom line is we have to fund our public education system. Our teachers are underpaid. They're overworked and underpaid. And one of the things that keeps me up at night is knowing that the QBE formula, which we use to fund our education, even though we say it's fully funded every year, has not changed in the last 21 years. I mean, what was the price of gas in the last 21 years? What is it today? So how are we going to fund our public education if we haven't addressed the formula in which it generates our revenue? I think we have to go back to that, and that's something that my colleagues across the aisle do not want to address. And what did they do? They had a voucher bill, and it passed. And it passed And what it's doing right now is, even though it's not here yet, but it's coming, is going to that voucher bill will continue to increase. And even though it's for just the 25% of failing public school students, it's going to end up being opened up for all students across the state. Now, I'm not against having options for students, but what I'm against is taking money that could have been put into public schools, especially since over the last 20 years we've not funded them right, and now putting the money to those vouchers, and now we start to defund public education. That's my concern. And our teachers, at the end of the day, suffer. So we have to be really serious about electing Democrats. I'm not even going to be shy about that, because when we elect Democrats, and we're the majority in the House, and the Senate, and the governor, we can solve this problem with education in Georgia.
Mr. Estrada.
So I'm a big believer in public schools, and unfortunately, over the last few years, very recently, we've moved away from the importance of public schools. Because what do public schools do for us? Let's ask that question. First of all, they do take care of our children, right? A lot of us do benefit from being able to leave them somewhere and not having to take the cost of childcare. Public schools do help us get a grounded sense of reality, a grounded sense of the world that we live around. Public schools, I'm a product of public schools and proud of it. So if we continue on the path that we are today and continue to move away from the importance of public schools, then I'm afraid of what this state is going to look like in 5, 10, or 15 years, especially with the maps, coming up for redrawing. They might end up taking away more of our power. But I believe that this comes to a question that I answered earlier about East Blast. Public schools and public education, even though I don't have kids, I haven't been in public schools for maybe 15 years. I'm getting old now. I haven't been in public schools for that long, but I do understand the importance of it, and I do understand the importance of it being adequately funded so that our children can go somewhere that is safe, somewhere that it will educate them, and somewhere that we can trust. Without funding to public schools, I don't know. I'm afraid for the future of this state.
Ms. Henderson.
Yes, most definitely. Education is a big forte of mine. In the school system, we have school teachers that are I consider second parents to our children. And therefore, our children go to school. They go to school to get a healthy meal. They go to school to be watched over, supervised, and then they go back home. They may not even get the supervision that they get at school. So our teachers play a vital role in the process. Therefore, budget increase, yes. Even though the teachers have already gotten a raise, they deserve another raise, because schools are having to do a lot of things now. For instance, schools are having to even have more security because of mass shootings. Mass shootings in the school, the detectors coming in the door of these schools, principals are having to implement them, refine them, enhance them. I spoke to my school superintendent, and he's starting with the high schools first. Because of the mass shootings, all these are expenses that we incur in education. And we have the mass shootings in the schools. We have the mass shooting again in schools. They're in the churches, they're in the malls, they're in the theaters. But in the schools, those are our babies, our children. They go to school to learn. They go to school to get their education. They don't go to school to watch their back, to look over their shoulders and see if they're going to get fired at or may not even make it home at the end of the day. So schools need our attention. Education needs our attention. The budget needs to increase to cover all of these expenses, including the mass shootings.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to talk about one of the questions that was sent to us from online, constituent engagement. Transparency and communication are key to public trust. What are your plans to ensure residents have easy access to you and to legislative updates from the Capitol?
Mr. Presley.
Well, that's easy. My life is an open book. I would make sure that my website stayed up to date. I would make sure that I held town halls at least once every quarter, if not more. I would try to make sure that if I wasn't holding a town hall, that I would do some type of video response online to let them know what was going on in the Gold Dome for that day during legislative session. I would do everything in my power, and I don't sleep in general anyway, so I would do everything in my power after hours to make sure that I was informing the community of the things that were going on. I would make sure that my constituency never had a problem knowing what was going on with regards to their tax dollars and with regards to me representing them. I would want to make sure that I'm fully engaged with them at all times. I use Facebook, I use TikTok, I use Instagram. I have all of those different social media applications that I am fully engaged with. So I would definitely make sure that, you know, I'm an open book to them and that the process is an open book. I think that a lot of the reason why our constituency is not as engaged is because they believe that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors to the process of passing laws. And we need that civic engagement, and one of the ways that we can have that civic engagement is by us reaching out to them through all of these different means and making sure that we're connecting with them and providing them with an opportunity to understand the process. And that would be something that I would specifically make sure that I did as the elected official for House District 108.
Thank you.
Mr. Estrada.
So I'll do what I do right now, which is listen to my community, give a direct channel to myself. And I understand that as a legislator, you do have a lot of people that reach out to you. Sometimes there's not enough time in the day to actually respond to them. And I understand that that could feel very disenfranchising. It could feel very isolating. But I believe in bringing back the fireside chats that President Roosevelt did back in the 30s. If you can't address every single person personally, I believe that you owe them a duty to inform them. So I will commit myself to doing maybe once a week, maybe once every other week, but certainly to keeping in touch with our community. Because my community specifically, District 109, it has the second worst voter turnout in the state. So with that being said, they need somebody not only who talks to them and keeps them updated, I believe it's more important to listen to them. And because we live in such a diverse community, I already speak 2 of the languages, Spanish and English. So I will also engage with other members of our community to get translators, people who can speak to them and effectively listen to them. And those people should be able to tell me things in the way that specifically addresses their needs. Because let's be honest, you know, they could tell us things that that translates to English. We have those AirPods now that apparently translate. I've never used them. But there is no way to truly understand somebody unless you are in their shoes. So I will make a commitment to have at least somebody on my team or somebody that I could reach out to that can speak to them in their language and, more importantly, listen to them.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Henderson.
We have to realize that we are the voice of our constituents. We are the voice for our community. And we're going to have constituents call us for everything from my son was arrested, he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, I don't know what to do, can you please help me? To, I don't have enough food in my refrigerator, can you help me, I need more money. My family have a mental health issue. Mental health is a big deal right now. There are many people that are suffering. There are many people that have mental health issues. They need counseling, they need medication, they need help. But one thing we cannot do, the average constituent does not know, well, that's a local level or a state level. I can't call her for this because that's out of her realm. we have to educate them and let them know, well, okay, you know what? You have the situation, but I have to direct you to your local government because I'm on the state level. A lot of constituents don't know the back office part of being an average constituent. They don't know what you can or can't do because they haven't studied our resume. They don't know what we're legislators, we're lawmakers, but yet we're there to help our community as well. So therefore, we have to be an educator for our constituents and let them know that we can help them in whatever way we can. If we can't help them, I can direct you to someone that can help you. So we are a voice for our community, and we have to be transparent, and we have to be available, and we have to be there when they need us, because right now we're living in a time when inflation is on the uprise, and people do not know what to do, where to go, and they're troubled, and all we can do right now is pray for the best. Man ought to always pray and not faint.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mr. Para.
Two things, language equity and constituent services. So in District 109, the residents together speak over 100 languages. Over 30% of the district were born in another country. One of the big things that a lot of my work has been rooted in is language equity, ensuring that all communities have access to government resources. I did that actually since I was 16, since I became a poll worker for Gwinnett County elections. And in that work, I would ensure that a large part, which is actually 40% of the population of 109 who spoke Spanish, would be able to retain resources in Spanish, to be able to access that. And so that's a big thing, that's ensuring that the government works for the people that it's supposed to represent. Another part I mentioned is constituent services. Fun fact about me, I actually worked for Congressman David Scott of the 13th Congressional District. This was 2 years ago. And I worked his constituent services team. And so I would make sure to go over casework, to be the one picking up the call, ensuring that folks would have direct line with their congressional resources, their federal resources. And that is the work that I want to bring at the state level, ensuring that not only town halls, but ensuring that we have sufficient resources year-round. One of the main complaints that I hear from residents is that elected officials, candidates, only come when they want your vote. They only come the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks of the campaign. See, I used to work for other campaigns, national, local campaigns, and that was one thing that was always kicking our butt, ensuring that, well, one thing was that we would never go to these doors if it wasn't an election cycle or election year. And that is one thing that I want to move away from, that as all state legislators, that is a position we're vying for. And this is a position that folks may say it's a part-time position. It's not. It's a full-time position. You have 3 months when you're down at the Capitol, down at the Gold Dome. But beyond that, year-round, you need to be accessible to your constituents. One of the main things that I'm going to build upon is ensuring that we have a large enough team to accommodate many constituent service calls, ensuring that they're connected to their resources as well as their elected officials.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Adania, sorry.
You're doing a good job. So the biggest challenge is staying in touch with your constituents. I get probably about 3,000, 4,000 emails every week. And that's just, in general. And you get a lot of spam. But one of the things I did with mine is I have a reply. When you send me an email, it tells you, if you're one of my constituents, I will get back to you within 48 hours. And if you're not, I will still respond. So it helps me filter out the spam. And it requests something from you to send me your information so I can look you up. That's one point of communication. The other thing is on my website, I have a Calendly, which allows you to schedule time with me if you have an urgent problem or urgent issue. And also I have the number for my office. I have a legislative assistant. If it's something that's urgent, it's important. We want to make sure that we address your issue. So communication for me is very critical and it's very important. Before a legislative session, I hold a town hall meeting. I'll be planning one in November, most likely through Zoom. And then during legislative session, we also do a town hall meeting so that we can tell you what bills are going on, what's going to pass, what potentially can, where we need your help, because sometimes we need you to advocate and come to the Capitol so you can tell the other legislators where you stand. And then after the session, we do an update. I also make sure I'm in the community events like this weekend, Trunk or Treat in Grayson. I'm going to be there. In Snellville, they have other events. And I also read at one of all the 3 libraries in my district. I go there because I believe it's a good way to touch parents, is when they take their kids there. I also make myself available. At the end of the day, I make myself available because that's what makes the difference. Make yourself accessible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Ms. Taylor.
Well, that's my pet peeve. I feel like every constituent should know who their representatives are and how to get in touch with them. That's just a motto of mine, and I say it everywhere I go. But because I've always been in the community, most of my community know how to find me on my cell phone number. But we have one responsibility at that Capitol those 40 days that we're in session, and that is to pass a budget. That's the only obligation that we have. All the other bills are just extra gravy. So, and being in the minority party, it's difficult to get something done. So the best way for me to stay down there is to be able to identify resources that I can bring back to my district, to my constituents, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to make it. It's just that difficult. And so I do a lot. I'm constantly having town halls. I'm constantly doing Zoom meetings on things that we've had 3 Zoom meetings on the data centers before it got to be such a big thing. And I do my newsletters, of course. I have a monthly constituent speak series every 4th Saturday of the month. I'm sitting here now thinking I got to go to the store when I leave here. Every 4th Saturday of the month, and it's usually standing room only. So sometimes to get to that point, you have to go where the people are. And so now that I'm just inundated into the community, they know where we're going to meet, when, what time, and I may not be able to solve your problems, but you can come and get it off your chest. I also have a constituent liaison in my district, so that if you can't get to me, you can get to her. And as Segun said, we do have our legislative aides that also assist us with issues within the community. But it's just a matter of building that relationship with your constituents and making sure that you are accessible. And I think I've done that pretty well. They know how to find me.
Thank you so much. And that's all the questions from me, but we'll take a few questions from the audience. Just remember, your question, your ask, should be only 30 seconds. We will stop you, and then our panelists will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond.
With the Special Needs Department of Education being downsized and the accessibility of Medicaid being under attack, I'd really like to know what sort of things y'all are doing or supporting to ensure that our community members with intellectual disabilities will be supported throughout these changes.
Our hands are tied. The governor has already made the announcement that no department should ask for any funding as a result of the cuts from the federal government. We have $14 billion of surplus in the reserve that we could use to offset some of those fees. Now, the only thing that he did assure us was that they would continue the summer school feeding program, because they were going to cut that out as well. But if the governor says it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. So we just going to have to pray, and we have to let our voices be heard. Don't give up. A lot of times you all have to, let me tell you, every year every sorority has a day at the Capitol. And the Boy Scouts Day at the Capitol. Then we have the NAACP Day at the Capitol. And they come in, hundreds show up. But when we need you to come and advocate, come and protest, come and testify, you can't be found. That is the disconnect. We can't do it by ourselves because they're used to us talking and fussing and raising hell. But when you come, they know that you're paying attention to what they're doing. It makes a big difference. And so I have to say that we have to all participate. We have to make sure that when you know that information, you got to tell some more people. Call your legislator and say, look, we want to come to the Capitol and do a press conference. call the media in so that the media can cover that press conference. We do it every day. We're getting ready to do one next week on this whole shutdown. So those things work, the little things. But I'm glad you're aware of it. Keep talking about it.
We can go down the line. Was your question for all of the panelists, or was it for a certain, everybody? Okay, we can go down the line, yes.
I'd just like to add to what Representative Taylor just said. I'd like to see more assistance in the area of special needs children. They're very rarely talked about, yet they exist. Special needs children, they shouldn't be alienated. There should be more funding. There should be more facilities. There should be more assistance for them. They shouldn't be segregated from regular kids as far as entertainment or medical necessities or anything they have. These children are part of our society. They need assistance. Their parents need assistance as well. And in the special needs department, I have worked with special needs in the past, and it is very rare that you see funding or attendance directed down there for their benefit. And I think that should be entitled and addressed more often for special needs children.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's one that I'm really concerned about. I hear what my colleagues are saying. I'm actually working with a couple of parents and an organization on writing a bill, whether that bill is going to make it or not. But the one thing that we're going to do is we're going to keep pushing our bills, whether they like it or not. Our kids with special needs, they need the resources. It's a shame to see the resources that they don't have, especially in Georgia. When you compare us with some of the other states, we're very behind. I think we're like about 48 or 49 in the country. So I'm willing to talk to you after this and get some feedback from you, because I'll tell you, I'm not an expert in that space, and that's why I lean on parents who are strong advocates and also organizations that advocate also. So let's put some work to this, because our current governor, really, I tell him, like he said, he's not going to increase the budget, but we have a surplus. That surplus can go towards something, and we need to speak up, and especially when it gets to the ballot to vote. This next election, I say it, vote for Democrats. You will see the change.
I agree with him. We have $14.3 billion in surplus reserve with an expectation of $16 billion by the end of the year. We can make some change, enact some change, and $9 billion of it is unallocated, where $5 billion is allocated for something but still not being utilized as of right now. We can utilize that $9 billion for these types of things. We also can enact Medicaid and Medicare. The money that we were supposed to be getting, we can utilize that. But a lot of this stuff can only take place when we get a new governor, so we need to get out the vote. One of the problems that we have within the state right now is that a lot of people are disillusioned with the voting process because of the election. But we need to get past that. We can't do anything about what happened before, but we can do a lot about what happens next. So we need to register, we need to vote, we need to advocate, we need to show up at the Capitol, as she said. We need to do our part as citizens to make these things happen. So I'm suggesting to you, let's communicate, let's connect, and try to get out that voting effort. Right now, we have a PSC election that's taking place, which is really going to affect your electric bill. So all of you need to be getting out to vote.
Thank you.
So you're right. Programs that are impacting students with special needs, students who may not have English capacity, students who are living in marginalized communities, these programs that are benefiting them are right now being defunded. I worked at the state capitol back in 2024, where I saw SB 233. SB 233 is also known as a school voucher bill, and this bill took away funds that otherwise would have gone to public schools and now put it to charter schools. And so why? Well, because Governor Kemp, that was his priority back in that session. He did to benefit his corporate donors. And this is something that we see consistently, that public health, that public schools is not a priority out of the current administration, not only federal with Medicaid expansions, Medicaid cuts, but also, of course, with the schools, right? Where now, as we mentioned before, that we have billions and billions in surplus that are being held right now. They're not being given to these kids in this states. One of the big things that we're pushing for as well is to ensure that there are free breakfast, free lunch, free meals for students as well. And one thing I will note is that holding these folks accountable, because ultimately they work for you. You don't work for them, right? So going to the Capitol, as was one of the colleagues mentioned earlier today, going to the Capitol, testifying. I testified one time on an anti-immigration, anti-voting rights bill because that was really personal to me. And so I was there. I had to wait a couple hours because Republicans, they don't make it easy to testify, but I managed to get my voices heard. And there was a provision that I fought against that was able to get removed.
All right, so the question was about special needs children, right? So when it comes to very specific special needs populations in general, not just with special needs children, I'm not going to stand up here or sit up here and pretend like I know the answer to what can be done about it. Because to be quite honest, I don't know the answer to all of it, but what I do know is that I will let my core guiding principles guide me. And what are those core guiding principles? Who needs the help? How can we get it to them? And to be quite honest, to actually get with these specialized populations, with these specialized people, we just need to listen to the people who interact with them, because honestly, they're the ones who know what they need. So I do a lot of housing rights, and I do advocate for a lot of disability tenants who are not being accommodated, reasonable accommodations through disability. That's what I do during my day job. And every single time I talk to one of these people and I listen to them, I learn something new. So I think step number one is to get with these people who understand them, who can communicate with us, listen to them, and implement policies based on what they understand to be their reality. Because no matter how much we sit up here and say, hey, I know the solution to this, we're not in their shoes, and unless you're that close to them, you don't know what they need. So step number one is to listen, and step number two is to let the world know what it is that these people tell us.
Thank you so much, and I apologize to make sure we respect New Birth Baptist Church that we would stop at 9:30, have a hard stop. If you have any more questions, please consider to talk to these candidates and legislators at the end of as you leave out. But I apologize, we won't be able to take any more questions at this time. But as we move forward, first let's give a hand to all of these legislators and these candidates. Representative Rhonda Taylor, Representative Sharon Henderson, Representative Sagan Idiana. Did I do it right? Okay. I'm getting there. Joshua Presley, Nico Para, and as well as Attorney Juan Estrada. Thank you so much for tonight. And I want to also thank you all for coming out. As they stated, civic engagement is important. When we had our governor's forum, the room was packed and overflowed. So in order to get the word out, you have to tell a friend to tell another friend to show up for these events and to hear what these representatives have to say. It doesn't fall all on them. It falls on us as well as accountability. So when you show up and hold them accountable, then they would do what they need to do. We are officially in early voting. This election matters from the top to the local level. If you live inside a city jurisdiction incorporated area, you'll be voting for your city council, the leaders who make decisions on zoning, parks, housing utilities, and the dedication of your community. You also have the Public Service Commission, races on your ballot. The PSC regulates Georgia electric, gas, and some telecommunication utilities. Basically, the folks who oversee how much you pay and how many companies deliver energy across the state. Their decisions directly affect your monthly bills and access to reliable services. We have upcoming forums. November 13th, right here at New Birth Baptist Church, is our 13th Congressional District Forum for those who are running for Congress in the 13th Congressional District. And March 11th, now that is the governor's debate right here at New Birth Church. These are all nonpartisan community events hosted by the 13th Congressional Federation of Democratic Women, as well with Dr. Jamal Bryant, created to help voters hear directly from the people. If you want to learn more about the Democratic Women, go to 13thdemocraticwomen.org. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and many blessings to you, and have safe travels home.